Even if you predicted Miami being 6-2 at this point, there is no way you predicted some of these twists and turns.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Halloween! But no, I'm not doing the show in costume today because I'm a grown man. I'm Alex Donno, your host. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen. To the everydayers, we absolutely love you. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Not only is it Halloween, it's also a Truth Teller Tuesday. That's why we bring in our guy, Bruce Warner. We're going to be talking about the biggest surprises so far, good and bad, in Miami's season. Bruce, how are you, sir?
I think my facial expression says it all. I'm pissed. I woke up this morning in a bad mood. You know why?
Why?
Because 6-2 is good. We've beaten 2 out of the 3 teams that we thought we were going to lose to, A&M and Clemson.
Right.
Florida State still upcoming. And now that we're 8 games into this, and North Carolina has 2 losses, we play NC State Saturday. Let's assume we lose to Florida State. But then we have Louisville, who's got the 1 loss. Had we beaten Georgia Tech like we should have, we could have had 2 losses going into that game and controlled our own destiny unless North Carolina would win. And even if North Carolina doesn't lose anymore and they wind up playing FSU in the ACC title game, I'll be damned. We should be 10 wins at the worst, or maybe 9. But that game is killing us. Now, the week after we were all upset, but now here we are beating Clemson, and my goodness, that just burns me up. And not only the knee, but after they got the ball, they had 1 pass for a completion. The clock was running down, and we didn't call timeout. Now, all you guys listening and watching, how many times has he called a timeout during the year? And you go, what? And this
we're using it now.
Absolutely should have called it to set the defense to make sure nobody does anything stupid and let anybody get past them, and they didn't call a timeout. Not that I'm ripping him. I'm just saying. I watch all the pressers, and this is wrong, and that's wrong, and this wrong. 2 bonehead plays in a matter of a minute. And I'm sorry, we should be 7-1. We should be.
Yeah.
It would have made it a lot easier because our goal is to get to 10 wins and win a recruiting battle with Florida State. Now, next year, they're not going to be so great. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a lot of people coming back.
They're going to have to go right back into the portal. So we don't know. I mean, maybe they'll have a tremendous transfer portal and they'll be pretty good next year, but they're going to have to replace it. Talking about Florida State, they're going to have to replace a lot of players next year.
A lot of players. All right, so anyway, I'm in a better mood now because I'm talking to you, but I just wanted to get it off my chest because it still bothers me.
Well, yeah, and if we're talking about, Bruce, we're talking about surprises 8 games into the year and Miami heading into a difficult matchup against NC State. I was actually surprised that the Hurricanes opened as 4.5-point favorites on the road in that game. It's not an easy matchup coming up, but to this point, that Georgia Tech game, that's got to be right up there with the biggest surprises, Bruce, because, Georgia Tech, obviously they're showing they're better than people gave them credit for. They just beat North Carolina and they put up like 600 yards of offense. So It is what it is. But still, Miami was supposed to blow them out. And then you have an opportunity to secure a victory. You don't take the knee. Then they rule a fumble that I didn't really think was a fumble. And then, like you said, the defense still had to collapse on those final 3 plays anyway. So that's a big surprise. Here's some other surprises, Bruce, positive and negative. Now, a positive surprise, and I'm not going to say I didn't think he was going to have an impact this year, but in no way did I think Rueben Bain would be this dominant to start the season. He's leading the team with 6.5 sacks. He's got more sacks, Bruce, than any Miami player recorded in all 12 games last year. Jafari Harvey led the team with 5.5 sacks last year. Bain's already got 6.5. He's still got 5 games left to play in because Miami's going to be in a bowl game, or maybe even 6 if Miami can sneak into the ACC Championship game. So Rueben Bain so far we both knew he was going to be good. But if you told me, and he's going to get to double digits, by the way, he's going to probably by the Florida State game, he's going to get to 10 sacks on the year. I didn't think he would be this good this quickly.
Well, I don't know if that's what I thought, but I told you right after the practice, I spoke to you the week before the spring game, and I said, he's in the backfield on every play. Every play he's in the backfield. You know, I saw him get knocked on his rear end once, but he's tenacious. He doesn't stop. And if he's not making tackles or making sacks, he's pressuring the quarterback. He's collapsing the pocket, which is exactly what we said. I said we needed, and you said it, and everybody else said it, the D tackle play. Well, he's kind of lining up in the outside now. So teams are running right up the gut on us, and we need D tackles. I can't stress it enough, and I got to shut up because it's.
I'm glad though. I mean, I know you're talking about in the future as well, but in the present, I'm glad Branson Dean is back, Bruce, because he had missed a handful of games. He looked pretty darn dominant in that game. He gets 2 sacks in his return to Miami. So Dean, Leonard Taylor has played pretty well the past few games. You know, really well going back to the Clemson game. So that's a positive surprise. And another nice surprise, and I know they'll nitpick things because Miami's defense is not perfect. They've had some problems in coverage this year. The rushing defense, though, has been really good. But the overall defensive improvement, Miami last year, they finished ranked 69th in total defense. That's obviously below average, bottom half. Right now, the Hurricanes have the 24th ranked defense in the nation. So, you know, at this point, being 45 spots up from where you were last year, I've got to tip my cap to Lance Guidry because he's doing an awesome job.
Yeah, James Williams playing better. He makes mistakes here and there, but he's involved with the tackles and he's making some good plays. The speed that they have at linebacker, the defensive linemen are playing pretty well. They're collapsing the pocket, but they're very susceptible to runs up the gut. And that's you know what I also thought of before when I woke up? All these teams that were playing, even the kid from last week, who I never heard of, he can make plays with his feet.
Yeah,
we don't have that.
No.
We don't have it.
Yeah, and
so it's either a pass or we're getting tackled for a sack. And you know, it's why Ja'Cory Brown is so fascinating. If you could only work on his passing game and his footwork and his ability to read defense, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But he has a tremendous upside if they could really work with him. And speaking of working with him, I'm still not sold. I know people don't want to hear this on Dawson. Why haven't they recognized that TVD locks onto one guy? Why haven't they recognized until now it's public to check down?
Right.
Everybody knows I've been saying that for weeks. Not that I'm the genius or anything, but it's obvious. You got to be able to do these things. So I'm not putting all the blame on him.
Yeah.
You got to be able to listen, pal. This guy's covered. Check it down. And I'll make one suggestion. I would put Chris Johnson in the game because between him and Brashard, if you look at the big runs by the team, Brashard's got the big runs, not the running backs. He's got some long runs.
My guy AJ Allen got the one though last week.
But that wasn't an 80-yarder. That was like a 30-yarder. But
yeah, but okay, it would have been an 80 if they were 80 yards farther back. It would have been an 80-yarder. It was a 26-yarder. Nobody was catching him.
I want his speed. I want the ball thrown to him or Brashard in the flat. Yeah. You got to get those safeties up. They're laying back there and they're daring him to throw. And of course, what we talked about a few minutes ago before the show, our tight ends they're not doing anything. You know, I think Arroyo's hurt again. He may be a wash.
Yeah.
You got to get Riley Williams in here with design plays, whether it's a drag route or they fake a handoff and he comes across and the quarterback dumps it off to him. We've got to do something to get those safeties up because they're just daring us to throw. And unfortunately, that's exactly what Van Dyke is doing, throwing it into coverage.
Well, and when we come back, I want to get more into that. The rest of the season with Tyler Van Dyke. I'd like to know if Bruce Warner maybe has any doubts about whether Tyler should be starting these next 4 games, because that's been a big time topic on the message boards, on this show, on Canes Twitter the last couple of days. And we've also got to talk about the new ACC schedule format, which actually dropped last night. And I think they actually did something from a Miami standpoint that I really, 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 really like. So, man, friends, we are only getting started here on this all new episode of Locked On Canes. Folks, buying last-minute tickets should not be a stressful experience. And it's not when you use Game Time. Folks, I was on Game Time last week, the day before the Virginia game on Friday, and I found $1 tickets, and I shared that news with you guys. And one of our listeners, Chris, actually sent me a nice note that he got a 4-pack of $1 tickets for his family. He was so thankful. You can get deals like that at Game Time, last-minute deals. So good. You can see the view exactly from where your seat is going to be on Game Time. Camera views from all over the stadium. Game Time, I'm telling you guys, these zone deals are fantastic, and you got to take advantage of this Game Time guarantee. When you download the Game Time app, the guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. If you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, sign up for Locked On Canes Insiders, our exclusive text messaging group. You get text messages directly from my phone to yours with breaking news, recruiting scoops, one-on-one questions. In fact, we were talking this morning on Locked On Canes Insiders, Bruce, about Miami seems to be in good position to flip a running back commit from Ohio State. Jordan Lyle, 4-star running back, St. Thomas Aquinas. He's visited Miami several times, was at the game this past weekend. He's obviously got high school teammates who are on Miami and committed to Miami, and the Canes seem to be in a pretty good position here. And honestly, Bruce, what running back in the country wouldn't want to run behind this offensive line? Because they've been a super pleasant surprise so far. And as we see at that position, running back, a lot of guys are going to get injured. A lot of guys are going to get banged up throughout the year. Miami's had a lot of different backs on the field. Running behind that O-line is a luxury.
Yeah. Why can't we get a D tackle to decommit?
I knew that was coming.
By the way, I'm sure I'm going to get a ton of negatives now. Mr. Negativity is back because of what I said at the beginning. But you got to admit, you guys, it's frustrating to lose a game like that. And you know what? I let it go for a while. But now that I'm thinking ahead after these last 2 games, it just brought back what happened, and it makes it worse. I just hope we could win these games and maybe battle Florida State and then get to a damn good bowl game. That's what I'd like to see.
You were spot on before with what you were saying about Tyler Van Dyke, Shannon Dawson, and the checkdowns. And Dawson said yesterday, quote, "We have to do a better job of taking what the defense gives us. When you get greedy, bad things happen." Now, Bruce, I was asked a question yesterday. Some people didn't like my answer because, they're ready to jump ship on Tyler Van Dyke, some of our fans. Because, I was asked which quarterback for these next 4 games gives Miami the best chance to win. And, my answer is still Tyler Van Dyke because of his experience and his, rapport and chemistry with his teammates. And there's nothing he hasn't seen to this point in his career compared to Emory Williams. So my answer was Tyler Van Dyke, but it's my answer with an asterisk, right? Because it's only Tyler Van Dyke if he stops shooting us in the foot, Bruce. Because listen, if Van Dyke is going to go out there and throw 2-3 interceptions a game, maybe you are better off letting the kid kind of manage the game and playing more conservative. So Tyler Van Dyke this year has more upside for these next 4 games, but he's just got to stop making these mistakes.
Well, I think that he's definitely going to start Saturday. There's no question.
Unless he has some kind of an injury, because he's nursing 3 injuries. Unless one of those gets worse, he's going to start.
Yeah, but they got to fix some of these plays. They have to make it easier for him. He's got to start checking it down. They had 1 toss sweep and Fletcher dropped the ball.
Yeah.
But, you can't do that kind of stuff. But if you do that with Chris Johnson, he gets to the outside, you better believe that those safeties are going to come up. We're not making them change their defense. We're playing right into their hands. And so I look at this as just as much Van Dyke. It's Dawson's fault. You've got to say, look, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do it here. You're going to throw it there. You're going to have shots to the flat. There's still no screens. They do 1 a game maybe, but you got to do it. You have to do what you have to do and don't force things. Now, if he keeps doing it, then I put Emory Williams in the game and let TVD ride the bench. Now, if that's what happens, I think he's gone next year. I don't think he's going to the NFL no matter what after this season.
Tough.
So he's either going to stick around and fight for his job or he's going to transfer because he's not going to the NFL.
Right.
What else do we have here? We've got more surprises. What about negative surprises?
Okay, well, a big one, a big one for me. Negative surprise, Bruce. I was not expecting this. The tight end room has been, they block. I can't take that away from them. But in the passing game, tight ends have been virtually non-existent. And unfortunately, you mentioned this. Elijah Arroyo's health struggles have continued this year, and I also worry the tight end usage. It's affecting recruiting, or it's gonna, right? So Miami has a 4-star commitment from Bishop Gorman tight end Elijah Lofton, who's an awesome player. But we're starting to get a little bit concerned. He's expected to visit Texas this weekend. The Longhorns are pushing really hard for him. Like, it's going to be hard to keep tight ends committed and recruit future tight ends if they're just, out there catching one pass per game, if even.
Yeah, but I think it's because of the guys we have. This kid you look at and say, you know what? I'm going to play right away if I go there. You talk about Skinner. Yeah. Alabama wanted him. They wanted him badly.
Yeah.
We're saying we stole him from Nick Saban. Where the hell is he? I see this stuff about he's not a good blocker. I get it. He's not.
Yeah.
But he can catch the ball. I've seen him do it. I watched him in practices. He can catch it, but he's just in a bad spot. And I watched on the sidelines. He was laughing the other day. We were losing. I don't know if you saw.
Really?
That.
No, I didn't see that.
Laughing on the sidelines while we were losing. He happened to have been in the line of the camera 2 times. He was laughing. So I don't know. Maybe
he knew we were going to win the game.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know what? We got to fix the tight ends, because that's a very important part of Miami football. The tight ends. It's been for 40 or 50 years.
Yeah.
Any
other negatives for you? Because obviously another positive surprise for me, and it's kind of like the Bain thing, where I knew they'd be better, but I wasn't expecting the offensive line to be this good. I mean, no sacks given up these past couple of games, Bruce. They're wearing down opposing defenses. I can't. They're obviously going to be challenged against Florida State and even against NC State big time. They've got a good defensive front this week, but the O-line, to me, I thought they'd be good. Didn't think they'd be this good.
Well, I didn't know, but I knew that as the season went on, as Leon told us before the season started, you have to play as a unit. Well, now they're playing as a unit.
They are. Yeah.
They really have not had, knock on wood, I'll knock on my head, serious injuries where they have to start bringing in guys who just aren't ready.
True.
So, and we know that Okunlulu, what's his name?
Samson. You just call him the Pancake Honcho.
Okay. Well, anyway, he's out. So he's going to have to be ready for next season. And forget Zion. He's not going to play. Now, I hear that Citizen is ready to go, but I don't know how much time they're going to give him. Yeah. I think they're concerned about him getting re-injured again. Yeah. But maybe he'll get something in garbage time this year, so he'll maybe get his feet wet and have a little confidence. So I would expect him to play a little bit and get some burn during the season. But any other negatives? We talked about Leonard Taylor. He's picked it up some. Mm-hmm. I just don't know how good he is, and I just don't see him as a high draft pick this year. I just don't, But people were down on Flagg. He's played pretty well.
Oh, he made
one play against Clemson that validates him for the whole season.
Yeah, and he's been good even outside of that, right? Yeah, and it's funny because we've had certain validation situations, because it was funny. Cam Kinchins, who had a pick 6 last week, didn't play well outside of that pick 6. But it's like, okay, you were struck. He was 0 for 6 in coverage, but you get a pick 6. You completely redeem yourself, right?
But the game we lost to Georgia Tech, where was he? Where were both of those?
That wasn't good.
So. It's still trial and error for Mario. I know he's going to go with Van Dyke as long as he can. Yeah. But if he just can't correct any of these mistakes that he should have, it's 3 years he's been here now.
Yes.
4 years, and he's not correcting the obvious.
Yeah.
I see people saying, well, take Restrepo off the field. He won't lock in on him. You can't do that. I mean, where do you get this stuff from?
I saw someone
comic strip. Where do you get that stuff?
Someone in my comments yesterday said you should, you can have Restrepo on the field, but don't let him and Van Dyke practice together. Was the suggestion? Just have Restrepo play with the scout team or something, so Van Dyke practices throwing.
Oh man, that's just. But you know what? He's just got to learn. And that's something he should have learned. In all the 3 years he's been here, is checking down, not throwing it to double cover, not locking on one guy. But again, they're giving you the underneath stuff. You got to do it.
Yeah.
Where the hell are everybody slants on us And they're catching the ball. We're not throwing them. We're throwing those stupid little out patterns or bubble screens, but no slants. Look, I'm going to be honest. I blame Dawson for some of this stuff.
Yeah, I think you have to. I blame most of it on personnel and execution, but you definitely have to blame some of it on the coordinator. And when we come back, interesting reveal from the ACC last night. Something I do think benefits Miami, and an interesting challenge coming up against NC State. Mario Cristobal typically does pretty well outside of last year. Typically does pretty well in the month of November. We have so much still to come on this episode. You want to keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. My friends, you want to keep it locked all football season long to FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. Guys, that's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. Miami Hurricanes favored by 4.5 on the road at NC State. Dolphins playing in Germany against the Kansas City Chiefs this week. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. And guys, make sure it's kind of almost Friday, right? People always get, when it's Tuesday or Wednesday and I say it's almost Friday, people get so mad. It's like, it's Tuesday. I hate my life. Friday's coming up, and every Friday, Locked On College Football Kickoff Live. I'm part of that show, and it's an honor to be part of that show. 11 a.m. to noon, streaming live every Friday. Kenton Gibbs, Drake Toll, and me take you around all the big games and storylines in college football. You can watch it right here on this YouTube channel, Locked On Canes, or all the Locked On College YouTube channels. It streams live 11 a.m. to noon every single Friday. To Truth Teller Tuesday, Bruce Warner is with us. So, Bruce, kudos to David Lake.
I'm putting that in now. I'm going to cancel my doctor's appointment so I could listen to you.
Yeah, you should. What are you, doctor's appointment on a Friday? You got to listen to Locked On College Football Kickoff Live. What are you doing?
I'm canceling now. Okay.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. So, all right, this was noted by David Lake at Inside the U that when Mario Cristobal was head coach at Oregon, in excluding the COVID year, which was barely played in the Pac-12 that year, in all of his full seasons at Oregon, he went 3-1 in the month of November. I don't know if history will have anything to do with how Miami does, but, typically Cristobal teams tend to finish the season pretty strong, November being the last month of the regular season, so we hope it plays out that way. North Carolina State has a really tough defense, Bruce, with that 3-3-5 that give you a lot of interesting and exotic looks. And there's some players to look out for on offense. MJ Morris, their young quarterback, can hurt you in a number of different ways. And they've got this receiver / running back / gadget guy, Kevin Concepcion, who they can, sort of like, I guess like they're Brashard Smith. If you just think about it, you can line this guy up anywhere. He can hurt your defense as well. So, I mean, listen, just respecting the opponent and understanding how Miami's had to grind out close wins the last 2 weeks, I was actually surprised that the Hurricanes opened as road favorites in this one. I'm going to probably pick Miami to win the game, but I was a little bit surprised to see them get that kind of respect from Vegas.
I watched them last week in their game. He's pretty good, but I think he doesn't have the experience. I think we ought to go after this kid like we did. Yes. I think we need to be aggressive and in his face and make him beat us. Now, he can beat us with his legs because he could run. So I would like to think we're going to put a spy on this kid, because the rest of his game, it's hit or miss with his passing attack. So I think that's what we should be doing on offensively. They keep talking about things which we just mentioned. They've got to get some balls in the hands of the guys that could make plays. You don't always have to run up the gut and throw deep balls. I like to see slants, some screens. I'd love to see Chris Johnson and Brashard Smith in the backfield. I mean, when Brashard's in the backfield, people take notice. Well, if the both of them are in there and they both flared out, wow. I think we need to start doing that. And once they start making big gains and chunk yardage, the safeties will come up. Then you can go over the top. And the other thing is, I thought of this, and I'd love to hear the responses. I'll read them later. Mm-hmm. But how come when Diaz was here, for 2 years out of the 3 or 4 he was here, we came out of the tunnel flat? Well, we've been coming out of the tunnel flat now too.
Yeah.
We have not
Yeah.
jumped on people and
No.
attacked them, and we haven't. How can this continue to happen? We've been behind 10 against A&M, 10 against Clemson, 10 the other day. We don't come out of this, then they make adjustments. For what?
Yeah.
We know these teams are now going to play 2 deep safeties, come out of there, and I don't know whether it was Van Dyke or somebody admitted they came out flat.
Yes.
Why?
Van Dyke did, and also Lance Guidry. I think Guidry and Dawson, both said it, because for as good as Miami's defense finished the game the other day, first drive, like they looked like they were completely flat-footed, and Virginia clearly studied North Carolina, because they were going at Miami with tempo, and like Miami just wasn't prepared. Like sometimes the linebackers
again they weren't prepared.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. Because we really, like we said, we should be 7-1. We won that game minus a knee,
right?
But we're in this thing, and but we could also lose the next 4 games.
Yeah, we could.
And I don't see an offensive identity. What is it? It's like chop. And I'll repeat this again. Maybe I'm wrong. I want to see our offense speed it up. I'm sick and tired of the clock running down in there. And then he's looking to the side, and we don't look like we're prepared for this. And that's what's scary. I don't see that much difference.
Okay, so
other than the talent level.
Sure. No, and shifting gears, Bruce, I watched, I was making fun of how they did like a special announcement on TV, but I still watched it. The new ACC schedule format, because obviously you have to switch. They just switched things up last year, but you have to switch it up again because you're adding Cal, Stanford, and SMU. And I think they corrected something that they got wrong last year, because when they drew up Miami's like permanent rivalry opponents, I thought they really messed up by excluding Virginia Tech and by getting rid of that matchup. So Virginia Tech, Miami back on annual again starting next year. So Miami's permanent protected games, you're going to play, as long as these teams are all in the ACC, of course, you're going to play Florida State every year, which is, been done for decades, and you're going to play Virginia Tech every year from now on. I think this is right, because listen, Louisville and Boston College, those are not real rivalries with Miami. Virginia Tech, though, is, and so I'm glad this is back.
Well, Boston College used to be when we played.
It used to be, yeah.
But so Cal and Stanford are coming in. Are they still sticking to this one division, or are they going to make divisions again like they had?
No, I think they're sticking with one division. They're just being like very you only travel out west a certain amount of times every decade. Like they're kind of protecting the those teams are going to get screwed with their travel, but they knew what they were signing up for. The teams out east are not going to have to go out there too often.
I don't like it. I want divisions, but they're not going to do it. They're just not. And I think teams that start off slowly, if you're in a division, you might be able to catch up. But if you're playing like this, there's going to be 2 or 3 teams at the top, and you're just playing for what? You're not going anyplace. You may get into a bowl game if you get 6 wins, but I don't like it. I just think there should be divisions. Does anybody else do this? No, right?
I don't know. The Pac-12 got rid of divisions, but now there's not really a Pac-12 anymore. So I guess I don't think the Big 12 has divisions anymore unless they re-added them.
But they play a title game, though. And so
they do play a title game.
The Big 10, they play a title game.
Yeah.
You got 2 divisions. So if they're doing it, the SEC has it. Those are the 2 lead conferences. So why is the ACC doing it like this? I don't like it at all.
Why does the ACC do anything that they do? And by the way, before we wrap it up, I want to send a huge shout out to former Miami Hurricane, who he runs a business, and we are going to be having Marquez Williams. We are going to be having him on the show at some point soon. So you want to stay tuned for that. I can't wait for Marquez's perspective. He runs Pops Socks. And look at this. This is a sock koozie that he sent me. This is so cool. Keep your beer cold or your hands dry on your beer with the sock koozie. And these Miami Night socks. Now my green screen kind of ruins this, but you can see what we're dealing with here. This is really cool. I'm going to be wearing these around tonight. So I love it.
Get that stuff, because that is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, right? So yeah, check it out, Pops. And he also sent me this cool wristband, popsocks.com. And we're going to be bringing on Marquez. He just had a child, so it's a little bit crazy at his house, as you can imagine, but we're going to be bringing him on pretty soon. So shout out to Marquez. Thank you so much. Shout out to Bruce Warner. And guys, as you know, we are dedicating this entire week of shows to really one of the best friends that we had in the Locked On Canes community, Brigadier General Otto Liller, who tragically passed away last weekend at the age of 51. Our hearts are with you and your family. And I know Otto, he's hopefully, again, I know he's got a lot of stuff to do up there, but hopefully he's watching us from heaven right now. So huge respect and prayers and shout out to Otto's family and friends. I can't tell you how sorry we are for your loss. And you guys probably know him. You knew him as War Beast in our YouTube live chat.
Oh, right.
Yeah, may he rest in peace. I was gutted, Bruce, when I heard the news about him. So
terrible. Any of these things are terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, huge shout out to Bruce Warner, the truth teller. Bruce, thank you so much. And try to get happy again. Forget about that kneel down from a few weeks ago. Try to get happy again, sir.
I've been writing to our guys that are making comments. I've been contacting them, and now I think they like me. They respect me.
Okay.
I say what I think. I'm not just winging this to say let's get some publicity. I do it because I believe in it.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to make this show great, and I'm happy for Alex.
And you're doing a great job, man. You're doing.
I didn't see the guests we got coming on. Woo.
Yeah, and Bruce, of course, hooked us up with Tolbert Bain last week, who came on with us. Bruce has known him for years. One of the best guests we've ever had.
Yeah, we're going to get Vince on and a bunch of other guys on.
Let's get Big Vince. We'll talk to you guys again next time. If we have any recruiting news or anything like that, we'll do an emergency episode. We'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.